Today, we are talking about the fight or flight response. This is the nervous system response that everyone knows. And of course, it is very important as well. So let us talk about it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen with you to show you exactly what it is. The fight or flight response is the second line of defense of the nervous system. So when we are perceiving threat, that this is what happens unconsciously. It doesn't matter if we know that we are safe right here, right now. We're just living our daily lives. But there are signs that our nervous system is feeling or perceiving that we are in danger. And so I'm going to share my screen with you to help you learn what that looks like in your body if you have gone into a fight and or flight response. So here we have it. This is the sympathetic nervous system response. And again, this is the second line of defense of the nervous system. And so when we are in this state, we have a lot of energy mobilization. So this is when our nervous system mobilizes energy and gets us ready to go. It's go time. Either we're fighting, we're going to fight, we're going to move towards that stressor, or we're going to move away and run away from that stressor. And so let's talk about fight first, which is we're moving towards and we're just handling that stress dead on. We are fighting. And so when we are in this state, our body feels that we are on guard. We're very inflexible, we're ready to defend, and we're overprotective. A lot of people who are stuck in the fight response are very defensive and very overprotective with regards to their opinions, to their beliefs. And so these are the people who will fight you whenever you disagree or they disagree with you. And so this happens because we would embrace from what is happening in the world. Our nervous system absolutely hates uncertainty, fear, and disappointment because that is a threat to our survival, and its only role is to keep us alive, right? And so if we feel any uncertainty, fear, or disappointment, then one of the responses, depending on who you are and how you've been life in throughout your life, depending on who you are, you might go into a fight response. So, what is that for you when there is a stressor, when there is someone that you disagree with, or you read something on the internet that you disagree with, and is shifting your beliefs in a way? How do you respond to that? Do you become very inflexible, overprotective? Do you get defensive? What is that? There is no right or wrong. It really just is an awareness for you to know how you are responding so that you can shift it. And a lot of the thoughts that we think when we are in the fight stage is that we have to be on guard and closed off. We really do not want to let anyone in, any constructive feedback, any positive feedback, anything at all. We are just defensive. That is how we are. We are just going to move towards and fight that whatever that stressor is. And for flight is we're moving away from that stressor. So we are running. We're ready to run. We're going to avoid that stressor instead. So avoidance patterns are the biggest thing here. And also, if we are stuck in the flight response, we have a lot of flight activation in our nervous system, then we have a hard time relaxing. And so you are in the state if slowing down for you is quite difficult, or there is an extreme fear of relaxing. And so, because we are in fight, just imagine you've been running on a marathon for days and days without relaxing, right? This is what flight feels like in our body. You're just running, 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 right? So, our muscles are overworked, especially in our traps, in our neck, because it's that running response, and even in our limbs and our legs. We feel very restless. We feel that we're ready to go. There's a big sense of urgency that we have to do something right now, and we cannot relax because if not, we will be vulnerable. And so the thoughts that one might think if they are in the flight response and they are stuck there is that I feel that I'll be attacked, I'll be vulnerable, and I will not show my needs. I'm just gonna run away from it. So these are the typical feelings that one would feel inside the fight or flight response. And of course, this is a state that is temporary. There are a lot of normal and actually quite, what's the word I'm looking for? The response of the fight or flight is very much Wow, the word is really leaving me. It is normal to be in a fight or flight response in some situations in our lives, right? There are, like, if someone crosses our boundaries, then it is okay to fight, or it's extremely okay to just avoid that person if we are protecting our peace, our sanity. That is definitely a healthy way that you can use your fight or flight response. And so, in any of my nervous system trainings, we do not demonize any of the responses. We do not demonize. We do not fear fight or flight. There's a very, very natural, it's a natural phenomena that you can take advantage of, because when you can take advantage of it and take the fear away from it, take the anxiety away from it, that is very, very powerful. If you want to make an impact, if you are a coach or hypnotherapist and you want to make an impact, you need the fight or flight energy, because that is what gives you vitality. That's what gives you passion. That is what helps you take action on the things that you might avoid had you not had this response in your system. And it is really knowing about the difference between, are you feeling threatened, or are you feeling the normal adrenaline rush that comes when you are passionate about something, right? And the biggest difference with that is the thoughts that you think and the feeling of fear. If you're coming from fear and you're noticing any of these symptoms, then you're going to be more in the survival state, which is not going to be very helpful for you, because that is the state where our critical thinking, decision making, and problem solving skills are under aroused, or they're just not prioritized because we are ready to survive in flight, right? We don't need to critically think when we're running away from a perceived danger or trying to fight someone. We need our resources, right, to just do it. And so when we're in that state where there's fear present, then it is not going to be as productive or helpful, versus just having that mobilization, that excitement, that passion, that rush. That is the beautiful power of the sympathetic nervous system, right? Because that is what helps us take action. And so just knowing the difference between what this feels like in your body is huge, because being in the sympathetic nervous system state, especially if you're a high achiever with a lot of goals and you're in business because you want to fucking change this world, having the sympathetic nervous system charge is actually very, very helpful. That is what's going to help you propel yourself forward and continue to move forward, right? Of course, when we are in a survival state, it's very different, because it's more exhausting to be also holding on to the fears. But if you're supporting yourself, if it's coming from a place of truly wanting to make a difference, that is the biggest difference between a healthy versus an unhealthy sympathetic nervous system response. And so when you see this, where are you at when you go into a fight or flight state? Are you more in the state of, I got to prove something, I fear, and there's nothing wrong with that. It really just is about gaining awareness so you can shift it. And one of the things that will help you shift out of the sympathetic nervous system response is the traditional relaxation practices. So when we are in the sympathetic nervous system response, our energy is mobilized. So therefore, our energy is high, which means that relaxation practices and down regulating practices can be very helpful here, so that we don't tip over to shutdown and burnout. So when you're in the sympathetic nervous system state, it is important to really take action immediately. And when you're finding yourself giving too much, to actually slow that down. If you're having a hard time or having trouble slowing down, then you're probably most likely in the survival state. And so you want to shift that around. And so the traditional relaxation practices of exhale centric breathing exercises, those are going to be very, very important in the state. Now, it is also very, very important to know what the difference is between fight or flight and freeze, because a lot of people think they're in fight or flight, but they're actually in freeze. I do have a video specifically on freeze, so comment freeze below so I can give you that specific training. Not a lot of people know how to differentiate between the two, and it is very, very important, because what you do in freeze is going to be very different when you're in fight or flight. And so when you're in the sympathetic nervous system state where there's fear present, then you want to then focus on your exhale. So this is when you want to prolong your exhales to down regulate your system. And so what I teach inside Bulletproof Nervous System and all of my nervous system trainings is to first assess, based on the slide there, does that line up with what you're feeling the present moment? Like right now, if you were to look internally and feel internally, what thoughts are you thinking? How does your body feel? Does it align with the slide that I just presented? And if that is so, then you immediately, this is specificity here, you want to immediately then down regulate your system by breathing, by using your breath, specifically prolonging your exhale. So in Bulletproof Nervous System, we talk about the 1 to 2 breathing, which is you're going to count how many inhales you're doing, and then you're going to double the exhale. So if you're taking you're taking a breath and it takes you 2 seconds to take an inhale, then your exhales are going to be 4. So 2, 4, 3, 6, 4, 8, 5, 10. Whatever it is, that is what's going to help you down regulate your system. And so that is how you're going to come out of the survival state of the fight or flight. And so again, there is a difference between this and freeze. If you want more information in freeze, comment freeze below and let me know how this goes for you. Are you more of a person who is fighty and or flighty? Is this the state that your nervous system tends to default to? Let me know, because we can do a lot of the things here. If we stay in fight or flight for the longest time, this is the state where we can potentially burn out. So this is the state where we really want to be proactive in managing so that we don't tip over to that dorsal vagal shutdown state, which is a little bit more tricky to come out of. And so if you're here, put the effort in, make sure that you don't wait for a long period of time, and make sure you do the practices like the breath exercises as soon as you feel it, because that is how you're going to change those survival patterns for good. That is how you are going to change your survival responses so that you stay more of in a regulated state where the beautiful things happen, such as critical thinking, decision making, and problem solving. This is where we optimally thrive. And when we are out of the sympathetic nervous system and in our primary defense of what we call the ventral vagal state, the rest, digest, and heal, this is where the true magic happens. And so I hope this helped, and I will see you around.